company right now.
Sorry.
Oh, recording it. Uh-oh. I'm recorded now. I better not say anything about Jeffrey or Fang or anybody, but when I jump into a company, it's usually, and I have a company now, I was going to say, they're pre-revenue, pre-commercialization, they're having investors, a Japanese public company. And I got parachuted in. The first phone call, they said, okay, 14 days, we have a board or a board meeting. Here are 17 things that need to be decided and fixed before then. And then in 17 days, we're going to have an all shareholders meeting, and you've got to put all this stuff together before that. And by the way, we're understaffed and overworked, and all of our paperwork is bad. Okay, great. Here's what I charge. They hired me within 30 minutes. It was on the first phone call. Now, am I that good? No, I'm going to tell you right up front, I'm not. I'd like to be that good. What I am good about is triage. If you want to do well in this business, it's triage. All right. I know some of you are going to be really terrific accounting people, really terrific CPAs, really terrific at filing 10Ks and everything else. Great, wonderful. But if you go in and you can't prioritize projects in a small to medium business that you're parachuting into, you need to really look at what you're going to do, because that is a key component. Now, you notice if that's a key component, then knowing the tax code, knowing the new lease standards, none of that matters, because what really comes at the end of the day, can you get the company right-sided quick enough so that you can manage their finance and accounting as quickly as possible? And honestly, CFO, I look at it as the Spock to Captain Kirk. So what does that mean? Well, Captain Kirk has to make a ton of decisions, life and death, all the time. If he's worried about stock option letters and worried about audits and stuff like that, he's not doing his job. He or she, pardon me, I'm using he in a very generic sense here, but they're not doing their job, and you're not helping them. But if you come in and take all that off their plate and the company makes money, you're going to be employed for as long as you want. It's that simple. We do CFO services, fractional and interim. And I'm going to go back to this. I'm going to be right up front. I'm going to do a pitch later on. We literally have more leads than we have CFOs to service them. So if you do your marketing right and you do your pitch right, and you talk about what you can handle, everybody on this call can probably handle bankers. Not if you can, right? Everybody on this call can handle brokers, can handle CPAs, can handle attorneys. That's what you go in with, because that's what they're looking for. Because remember, they have CPAs, attorneys, brokers, and bankers calling them all day saying they can solve their problems, but can they really? No. It's up to the CFO to solve their problems. And that's what wins when you go out on the market. All right, so what do you want to do? So everybody on this call, tomorrow you're saying, I want to be a fractional CFO, Don. You've inspired me. You're amazing. Your life story is just unbelievable. Okay. What can you do? Well, hang your own shingle. I did this. I went out in the market. I was competing with other full-time CFOs with 20 years of experience in CPAs, and I had to work for a living. It was either I changed the way my model works, or I was not going to eat. It was that simple. So what did I do? I put my own shingle out. It was a company called Accelerata Consulting. I did it up in Boston. And what did I do? I went to every networking meeting I could possibly go to. CFOs, CEOs, CPAs, lawyers, out of work people, overworked people. I didn't care. I just went. And what I said was, I didn't say I was a fractional. I just said I'm a CFO. And I let them do the talking. It was great. I had more work than I could do. I was one of the members at the MIT, I think it was the Founders Club or the Management Club, I can't remember, but it was people that graduated MIT that became CEOs and started their own company. I was speaker at that over and over and over again, and I'd get phone calls. I still get phone calls from that group. Now, what did I have to do? I had to become a marketer, and I had to become a networker pretty quickly. But here's the problem with putting out your own shingle. Number one problem, it's either feast or famine. You're either looking for clients, or you've got too many clients and you don't, so you'll get a phone call if you're looking for clients. So what typically happens, you'll have a client, 2, 3, you have 40 hours a week. You'll get a call from somebody that sounds really like a client you really want to take on, but you can't take on any more clients. You have nobody else to give it to. So you're stuck. You don't have somebody just turn around and hand it off like Shelly. Hey, listen, I got this client. I really want to say yes to him. I've done really great marketing, but I don't have any time. Can you take him? I mean, if you don't have somebody like that in your back pocket, you're stuck. The other way around, you got 4 or 5 clients, you're doing 40 or 50 hours a week, you're making good money, and then all of a sudden all of them want full-time and you can't do it. Next thing you know, you're out back on the street looking for new clients. So if you don't have a backup system when you hang your own shingle, it's very tough to make a living, because you're always, like I said, feast or famine. Number 2, very easy one out there now, B2B CFO and prospective CFO. If anybody wants to jump in with ones that I haven't mentioned here, our group, Florida CFO Group, was started by Tatum. I don't know if anybody knows Tatum. I was pursued by Tatum and so on to become a CFO, and I just didn't like their model. They had a large buy-in, large percentage of the fee I charged. I think it was 40% at the time. So I had to pay them $30K for the privilege of being Tatum CFO. I'm not knocking the people or the model. What I'm saying is that's the model. For me, it didn't work. $30K to buy in. They wanted 40% of my fees. When I asked them, well, do you have any knowledge management system or anything else? They said, no, you're out there on your own, find your own work, but we're going to take 40% right off the top. So I had to charge, if I wanted to charge 200, I had to charge what, 280 to get what I wanted. And it just, the problem is if you're paying for a 280 CFO, it's an account temps model. If you're paying for a 280 CFO, you're getting a 200 CFO. It's a simple model. Now, me, I would be able to go to a customer and say, I'll charge you 240 and I would still win. So you have to think about that model quite a bit. They also wanted me to bill out their junior staff. So they'd have controllers and accountants and payroll people on staff, and I was forced to bill out people. I didn't really like that because I didn't feel that my fiduciary responsibility was being performed if I would go in and be a CFO and then say, hey, by the way, I've got 4 people I want to hire. It just didn't seem right to me. Now, not saying it's wrong, it didn't seem right to me. Now, no barriers to entry. I'm going to tell you another thing. They will take anybody that walks up with 30K almost. I don't mean to be negative with that, but if you've been a junior accountant and you want to be a CFO, you can write them a check and you can become a B2B CFO. To me, that didn't sit well with me either, but it's very easy because it's a franchise model. Once you sign in, you can do it. Form your own group. So we've got what here? How many do we have, Jeffrey? 20 people or so?
Yeah.
So you could all get together and form your own group. You could rely on each other. You could pass leads back and forth and so on. If you're not familiar with forming your own group, it's very rewarding. I joined a group in Atlanta called the Rapinia Power Group, which was all high-level CFOs. Wasn't really formal, but we would pass leads among each other. I'm still in touch with them and so on. But if there's no commitment, there's not really a reward. And there's no back-end money if you want it. So you have to want to be a leader of a group and set it up. And finally, then I'm going to cover, you can be a CFO group like us. If you can find somebody like this, I'm going to say God bless you, because this is the first and only group that I found that meets my needs perfectly. Excuse me. We have a $500 buy-in, believe it or not, and we ask for $150 a month per client that you have. Now, if you can find another group like that and supplies you with so many leads that you can be booked 60 hours a week, I'm open to that. I'd switch gears probably in a minute. But like I said, all I told the group was at first, I want to work 2 days a week. I worked 2 days a week. I didn't get any more leads. When I said I wanted to work 6 days a week and bank some money, I had 6 days a week. So you need to find a group and find like-minded people that can do the same thing that the Florida CFO Group can do for you. No sales pitch intended.
All right. So Don, just a couple of quick things before you go further.
Please.
So Jeff had mentioned, I think there's some confusion. I think you were talking about Tatum, not B2B CFO, when you were talking about the 40%.
When I went into Tatum, they wanted $35,000 and 40% of my fees.
Yeah, it wasn't B2B CFO, right? So Jeff,
You're not anywhere near accurate when
Okay,
it comes
so,
to
yeah,
B2B
correct me.
CFO. So please stop doing that.
Oh, Jeff, big apologies. Let me rephrase this. When I was out of work in Boston in 2008, I was approached by Tatum to become a CFO. That's what they presented to me. So let me back up. They may not be anywhere near that now. I completely agree. Would you agree, Jeff, though, that they are more of a franchise model where there's a buy-in and there's a percentage of fees?
They are legally not a franchise. They are a licensing agreement, but it looks and smells like a franchise.
Okay. So let's then, let me back up, guys. Everybody on the call, I'm going to back up. Each of these groups charges a buy-in and a percentage of fees. I'm not knocking the system. Jeff, I am totally not trying to knock the system. It wasn't for me. I'm also a franchisee for Edible Arrangements and a few other franchises. It's not, even though the model is very similar, I'm not knocking that in per se. It wasn't good for me. So
Well, it wasn't good for me either, and I left. But I think you got to be careful about what you're doing and talking about other firms. That is not what they have a buy-in and they have a percentage that you share, but it's nowhere near what Tatum was.
okay.
I think Dave's
fair
numbers
enough.
are pretty close.
Fair enough. I will capitulate and say that the model that I presented without the numbers is still standard. You have to do a buy-in and you have to do some percentage of your fees back to the company. My numbers were probably off, but those were the numbers that were presented to me when Tatum approached me 15 years ago, 14 years ago. Now, if that's different, that's completely, and that's a way to go. Guys, listen, I will promote this 100%. If you want that type of model, that is definitely easy to get into. It's easy to do, and it's easy to get business and become a CFO and become a fractional and interim CFO very quickly. They get a lot of business. They get a lot of client referrals. They have a large marketing budget. It is definitely a way to go. I'm not knocking their model. It wasn't good for me. I'm presenting a different model. So in this particular case, still, if you want to join them, you do have to do a percentage, or you have to do a buy-in, which is kind of, I think it's, Jeff, correct me here, but it's like an ownership buy-in. You get a partnership level or something like that.
Yeah, I'm under an agreement to not disclose that, but what Dave has presented is fairly accurate.
Okay.
As far as I know, I've been gone for a couple of years.
So again,
This is Dave, real quick. I did talk to somebody last year, just more of not really anybody who was gonna decide, but just who had a franchise. And I'm up in Greater Boston. I think it was about 17 grand to get in, 9% or so of your gross receipts.
okay.
About a year ago. That's what I heard. I
Yeah,
didn't
it's
see
on
the writing, but that's about what I heard.
They've all got different models, but theirs is on a collected basis. The CFO bills the customer, carries the receivable, collects the money, and pays at the end of the month collected.
Fair enough. Back to the same thing. I'm trying to make it clear. Thank you for correcting me, Jeff. I don't mean to disparage any of these groups. It is a model that requires a buy-in, and they take a percentage of your fees. It's the same as, I'll be honest with you, it's similar to a franchise model. It's a licensing model, as Jeff said, but it is a way to get into the industry if you have no experience whatsoever. So it is a good path. It wasn't a path for me, is all I'm going to say. And when I was presented, it was more like the numbers were higher. I won't even talk about the numbers. They were much higher when I was presented the numbers.
all right, so just to, before you get into where you're going. So Jeff, you went from the one model to the other. Any thoughts on how you could share that for the group here as to what's good, bad? Why?
Well, the big thing a lot of these firms have is training in sales, not in how to be a CFO. So it's already been stated that being a salesperson is really important. And you do get into utilization concerns. If you, in order to get the business, to do the sales, to do the marketing, you can't be 100% utilized. And I think there's also a distinction we need to make, and I don't know how Florida CFO operates, but whether if you're working with smaller companies, you typically are a fractional situation that has multiple clients. And it sounds like Florida may be more of a larger client with a more full-time temporary or interim role. Am I anywhere near guessing correct?
Well, actually, we're all over the board. We're everything from a couple hours a week to, a 6-day a week interim gig that's full time. So it's all across the board, Jeff. And I guess backing up here, that's a great point to make, Jeff, and that's something I was going to make later. If you're going to hang your shingle, if you're going to join Tatum, if you're going to form your own group, or if you're going to join us, you do have to learn how to market and network. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. What I'm saying is that each of these models provides support in different ways. Some are direct, they train you and let you go. For us, we spend a lot of time sharing leads and getting leads in. I'm assuming some of the other places do. But at the same time, each of them has different requirements on you being part of their group. And I'll just leave it at that. So some are a little bit more stronger because they have a stronger model. Some are a little bit weaker because they let you do your own thing. But these are Jeff, I'll go back. These are roughly your 4 options. If today a full-time CFO wants to be a fractional, you can either join one of these groups, you can form your own group, hang your own shingle, or at the same time get a hybrid, which I think Florida CFO Group is kind of like. So that's where I'll kind of leave it.
Yeah. Hey, so before you go, because this is really kind of the whole nuts and bolts. I'm starting to explore a different model, which is where I have my own shingle because I got really good at marketing and selling. And so now I'm hanging my own shingle and I'm working with what I call 1099 people. So like I have a client where they're a small client, I charge them $3,000 a month. I have a guy that I work with and I'm kind of training him on the practice of being a fractional CFO, and I give him $2,000 a month. And so he does all the work. I'm kind of the front man. We go in, I'm on the business meetings. I kind of set the tone and all that. So I do the piece that only I can do. I just got another client that I'm charging $5,000 a month. I've got kind of a trainee working with me where I'm giving her $1,000 up front, $1,000 per month for the next 2 months. And then going on to get her to $2,000 a month and then $3,000 a month and set up that same model so that I can then get myself out from underneath that client to a certain extent and go on to the next one. So it's kind of it's a different, I was doing the hang your own shingle, selling my time. And now I'm trying to sell my capabilities around somebody else's time. I have no idea if it's going to work, but so far it's working out pretty well. So Anna, you have your own practice too, right?
Yeah, and actually it's interesting what you were just saying, Jeff, because I wanted to ask you, when you are in essence covering an engagement yourself and then one of these quote unquote trainees, what are you telling the client? Does the client think you're working full-time on the engagement? Because this area is a little bit problematic for me.
No, I tell them they get 2 sharks.
Okay. And
So-
then both you and the other person have access to the client systems and 2 logins and everything. And you haven't had any trouble pitching that to a client who was attracted to you initially.
Right, so we share one login.
Oh, you share
And-
one, okay.
Yeah, and then and they're on the meeting, and so I'm telling them, look, you're gonna get, so one guy's name is Matt, you're gonna get Matt and myself, and they're like thrilled. So far, everybody's been really happy that
That's great.
they get, to them, they're like getting extra.
Yeah, I have my own, but I have capacity issues. I can't take on all the business I see. So that's why I'm here to hear ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like Jim Lawrence here on the thing, he gave me a referral. And he and I talked yesterday, and I said, Jim, look, I can't really handle another one on my own. But if you're willing to do this with me in this model, then
Yeah.
I'll pursue it some more. And so he is. And so like imagine that you get Jim Lawrence and myself on a meeting for $3,000 a month.
Right.
It's just people love it. I'm telling you.
Okay, good
It's
to know.
like, the hard part is for me to manage the person that I'm working with. It's kind of, like I said, it's kind of like a training process. And I have to break my world down into scopes and steps and stuff like that. So Don, you want to keep going? I'm really interested to see how the Florida CFO Group model works.
So I'm going to get back. I guess I probably rushed into that and I didn't mean to, but the model's still valid. What we tried to do with the Florida CFO Group is create a model that kind of merged all three of those. And that's why I put us at the bottom, find someone like us. We don't charge, we charge $500 and $150 a month. And we do all the marketing for you. So you have to do some networking and some collaborating. And the reason I say this, I get back to this one right now, and I want to talk about this. This is an option for everybody. And right now we have more leads than we have CFOs. So the couple of things I'm talking about here, and you guys can go through this. I'll send this to Jeffrey, but this is kind of a sales pitch for us, which is not that critical. But since COVID happened, we've exploded in our group, and we have companies all across the United States. And in fact, I have one company in Italy that I'm a CFO for, and I have one company in Dubai that I'm the CFO for. So we are using exceptional marketing techniques to get our message out, and it's a good opportunity to move forward with that group. Now, the reason I'm here and the reason I wanted to talk with Jeffrey is I don't mean to oversell our group too much, but we are expanding. We are, I'm sorry about the graphics here. I didn't spend too much time on why they're this. I got this from another partner.
No, you're expanding. Yeah.
We are.
I see it. I see it on the screen.
23 partners right now. We have to have a full partner vote on every partner. So you have to be a CFO. You have to have 5 or 6 years of experience as a CFO. And we're looking for additional partners. Now, if you ask the partners, half the partners today are looking to expand nationally. The other half are wondering if we're staying in Florida. But I'm telling you right now, we're getting 4 to 5 leads a week for anywhere between fractional and full-time work. And we just don't have enough partners to go through it. One of the things we're doing besides partners, we're also looking for CFOs that are really interested in fractional and interim work. Let's say we don't bring them on as a partner, but we can refer work to them. So I'm also looking for people that I can refer work to. We just got a referral yesterday. It's a person I know. We've helped her before. She's amazing. She refers a lot of work to us. We can't service her. So I'm not promoting partnership in the Florida CFO Group as much as I'm promoting to each one of you my assistance in becoming a fractional CFO. If you want to do a franchise model, I think that's terrific. It helps you. If you want to put your own shingle out, it helps you. If you want to join our group, it helps you. I'm here specifically to say the Florida CFO Group is definitely looking for partners and looking for what we're calling right now associate CFOs that are interested and willing to take on assignments, willing to actively talk to potential clients, whether they're partners or not, because we're not, we're trying to make sure that works. And then the second part is, I was clear with Jeffrey when I offered to volunteer with this. Because I became a fractional CFO 16 years ago, there's probably things I know that you all could benefit from. So if anybody wants to contact me and ask a question, that was the point of this conversation was I've done it. I've been there. I've worked 2 days a week. I've worked 10 days a week. I know that's impossible, but if I want to work and take the money, I can. So if you're willing, if you're thinking, let's put you into groups maybe, and you don't have to raise your hand. If you're thinking about becoming a fractional CFO, but you just want to talk to somebody about how to get started, I can help you start your S Corp or LLC to make sure you're set up properly. If you're looking to figure out how to market yourself, you've already started, but you're not getting leads, I can walk you through that. I'm a professional networker. I teach classes in professional networking. Aside from this, I can teach you how to network. If you're having trouble, you get in front of a client, you're not closing them, I'd be happy to do advice on how to close a client quickly. My record now is 30 minutes on a phone call with a guy in New York. I think if I can do that, I can probably give you a little advice. If you don't use it, that's fine. If you're in mid-career as a fractional CFO and you want to figure out what you're doing next, that's fine. I think Vipin, is that right? You were asking about some clients want CPAs. I have the perfect answer for that question. So if you get in front of a client and they go, listen, I'm looking for a CPA and you don't have one, I can tell you what to say to that person to get you in the door. And again, be clear, to help them. All of these end up in helping. If you get in front of a client, you can't help them, you shouldn't be there. Right? I firmly believe that, and you should hand it off to somebody else. But if everything else is what I said makes sense, you want to do it, you want to do fractional, you want to help companies, you want to make money, and you want some advice from somebody that's been doing it for 16 years, definitely connect with me, definitely ask me questions. I'd be happy to help. That's the end result of that.
So Don, talk to us for a few minutes about the marketing you guys do.
Well, it's interesting. When I started with the group, we had very little marketing. We had a pretty static web page. We weren't doing any social media whatsoever, no videos, no anything. And that was probably what, 2017, 2018. And I started doing social media just because it was fun for me to figure out. I'm a puzzle guy. I wanted to figure out how it works. So I started posting on LinkedIn and so on. And I'll be upfront, LinkedIn has been our primary. I personally get probably a contact a week from LinkedIn where they just send me a note and say, I'm looking for a fractional CFO. So you need the premium LinkedIn. You need to see the people that visit your website. You need to respond to them professionally, but I get those. As a group then about 2 years ago, we brought on, like we exploded, and we brought on some partners that were passionate about marketing. So we put, I want to say 10 or 15 grand into a website. Now that can be daunting for a solo practitioner, but for 20 some partners, it's easy to put in $1,000 each and get a really great website with marketing and traction. We now do newsletter subscriptions where we send out, that's a huge item for us. We do videos and we do partner of the month. We do, we just did for each month, there's a different thing. There's a veteran appreciation month. We do veterans and such like that. It's something that as a solo practitioner, I could never do on my own. There's just no way. But I do one video every 18 months and I'm good to go. And it helps out. But I'm a big social media guy, so I set up their entire social media platform. We post to Florida CFO Group on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, all these places, because what ends up happening is Google drives everything. Google searches all of those locations. And honestly, Florida CFO Group, we get a few links a year for the Florida CFO, the actual CFO of the state of Florida, because of the confusion in our name, but that just shows that our networking or our social media is working and SEO is working. So now me personally, when I got here, I attended every networking event I could find. You shake hands. This was pre-COVID, of course. You shake hands, you exchange phone cards. Now, I teach professional networking. I can work a room pretty well, walk out of there with good connections, and that builds more connections. And everybody in the group is committed to doing exactly the same thing. So instead of having, so again, I think Tatum does this as well. They encourage all of their partners to go out and market, and the brand is very important. So we promoted the brand quite a bit. So the networking definitely happens since COVID. It's been FANG online networking and Atlanta has a couple of online services. We're going to start going back. And you got to get ready with your handshake and your vinyl glove, or not vinyl, but the gloves and the masks and everything. But we're going to have to start going back to that very soon. That being said, I got my Dubai client and my New York client and my Italy client through LinkedIn. So you know, you have to be on LinkedIn. So number one, be on LinkedIn. Number two, have a website that has some content all the time. This is where a group, whether it's our group or your own group or Tatum or B2B CFO or End Perspective, comes into play, because you don't need to be posting all the time by yourself. You can have partners posting for you as well. So kind of a summary, but trust me, 2 partners get you 4 times as much marketing exposure. 4 partners get you 8 times as much as you could do on your own, easily.
Yep. You know, it's interesting. One of the things you said was that people were looking for a fractional CFO. That's a brand new phenomenon in the last 4 or 5 years. People didn't even know what it was, but now they're actually looking for it. You know, back when I was started doing this, I had to explain to people why I could help them and help somebody else at the same time.
So
But now it's accepted and people look for it.
So Jeffrey, I'm going to give you a free tip for everybody out there. Here's what I'm seeing right now. I'll get a phone call where a company has gotten 4 or 5, 6 advisors in different areas, CPA, lawyer, accountant, whatever. And each of them has proposed fractional work, but they all say the same thing. So Scott, I'm going to pick on you a second. Scott comes up, he's a CPA, and he says, hey, listen, I can help you with your CPA. I'm a CPA, I'm really good at my job. And they go, well, can you help us with the legal? And he goes, well, no, I'm a CPA. Why would I help you with the legal? And they get a lawyer approach. And Jim, I'm going to pick on you. Jim comes up and says, well, hey, I'm a lawyer. I can help you. And they go, well, can you help us with the accounting? Jim says, no, I'm a lawyer. So a CFO fits right in the puzzle box. Hey, listen, can you help me with legal? Yes. I'm not a lawyer, but I can read legal documents because I've done it for 16 years. Okay. Can you do CPA work? Well, I'm not a CPA, but I can do books better than most people can. And it's important to get the right books in front of the CPA so they can file your taxes properly and protect you on accounting issues. It's an easy sell when you walk into a door as a CFO with multi-discipline experience. It really is, because these small and medium companies are getting approached all day by experts in a particular field, and they're not getting the response because they're not sure who to choose, right? Okay, well, I'll choose a CPA, but I'll get 40% of what I want to do. Okay, well, I'll choose a lawyer and I'll get 30% of what I really need. The last company hired me on the spot because I said, listen, back everybody off and I will help you decide what to do next. And they went, fine, do it. And they hired me on the spot. So it's that kind of problem solving that it doesn't matter which model you choose. That's the way to approach a potential customer. I can solve your problems. I'm multidisciplined. I can get you to the next stage.
All right.
So a little extra tip there that I wasn't prepared to give you, but now you've got the secret sauce of why I'm so successful, and I'm just messing with you. I want you guys to stop.
Don't worry,
I have a question, if I could interject. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for that's the point of having these conversations, the diversity of perspectives, right? And people say what works for them or what didn't work for them, and sharing your experiences. So I appreciate that part of it. I am kind of at the very beginning of dabbling in CFO fractional. So, without using the cliche, like the franchise model of be in business for yourself, but not by yourself. My concern is, what if I get stuck from a knowledge base? Like, where is my knowledge sharing? And so I think that's part of wanting to be part of a group, right? And not really being out there on my own. So I hear people like Jeffrey, when he's saying, hey, I'd love to take people underneath my wing. I feel like that's the best start for me so that I'm not kind of out there on my own. As much as I'm confident in my skill set, I haven't, quote, had the CFO title per se at work. I've always been second to the CFO. So I've been exposed to all kinds of things and have a very good skill set. So fractional is kind of where I'd like to be, but I'm looking to work with others as I take that on. Does that make sense? And how would I find other people to be with in that scenario?
So Shelley, that's a great question. in general, any of the three, other than just hanging your own signal, any of the three things I presented will help you. But even just like in Atlanta, we just had like-minded CFOs. They got together once a week. So I would start with that kind of mentality, and see if you, FANG is a great resource for that. First of all, you can find some people in the local area. You can find some people that are nationwide or even international that speak the same language and can answer your questions. But absolutely, any group that you choose would help you with that in some way, shape, or form. Now, I'll give you an example. Florida CFO Group, we try to be agnostic in our approach to customers. So if I take on a customer, let's say that I have no experience with, and I'll be upfront, I hate manufacturing, I hate cost accounting. It's the worst bane of my life. But if I take a client on and I
Best.
send an email to the group and say, I need help with cost accounting, I'll get 3 people respond to me. Or I need help with applying for a PPP loan, I'll get 3 people respond to me. You want to set up, even if you don't join a group, you want to have a group of people that you can send that information to and get the answer back. Now, partially, guys, everybody on this call, men, women, CFOs, CPAs, and even Jeffrey, if you ever need help, I'm messing with you, Jeffrey. If you ever need help, get on my LinkedIn, send me an email, ask me a question. I'll be happy to help. If I can't, I'll send you to somebody. If I can't do that, you know, I'll recommend. But you need that support network, especially as a CFO, because here's what I've learned. As a CFO, everybody looks to you in the company. Everybody in the company looks to you for the answer. You have nobody to go to in the company to ask a question, right? The CEO is looking to you, the board's looking to you, the staff is looking to you, everybody's looking to you. You need an outside set of people. So aside from having a group that you join or having your own shingle, get a group of like-minded CFOs that you can attach to, that you can answer and ask questions about your work and commiserate with sometimes and congratulate others and so on. That's important. And that's probably more important, and the best part of this conversation would be, regardless of the path you choose, have a group of people that can be a support network for you. It's a great
Hey,
question.
Don, she already did that.
Good advice.
She already did it. She joined the group here.
Yeah. Well, you know, and I'll be honest with you, in 2006 to 8, and 8 in particular, when I started this, I thought I was alone. I didn't know there were other fractional CFOs. So
There
when I-
weren't back, Don, there weren't back then.
and that was pre-super Google, I would say. So
Yeah.
today, if you have a question, you know, can you what was the question we had lately? Can you do cashless exercise in a small company with no brokerage? You can probably Google it. But back then, there was nobody to support me, and I thought I was alone. So I may overtalk the CFO group, but even Tatum and Perspective, all of these had a support network that you could use a knowledge base with and ask them questions. And that's what you have to focus on. Maybe that's the most important thing most important piece of advice after learning how to network and sell is making sure you have a support network when you go out in the field. So, see, I'm able to learn. I can learn. I'm not that old yet. I'm not an old dog yet. Any other questions or?
No. All right. So we're gonna, Dominic is here. And so we're gonna turn it over to Dominic for the, 15, 20 minutes. And he's gonna talk to us about, so he's been doing this work for a long time. And he's gonna talk to us about his practice and, one of his clients and some of the things he runs into. So this is the section of the meeting where we get to look under the covers and see what really happens with clients and that sort of thing. So Dominic, if you want to take it from there.
That's a tall order. Jeff, thanks so much. I appreciate you guys. I'm sorry, looks like I'm running late here a little bit. I'm not sure why I got that messed up on my calendar again, but I have a little, I have a little PowerPoint presentation, which is really fun, but it's a little cheesy. It's a little bit about getting to know me, who I am, and I'll fly through it, but I will definitely show you. I'll show it to you. So let me share my screen. I think I can share here.
Yeah. No, we want to know you. So,
All right.
yeah.
This is good. This is fun. I think it's going to allow me to present here. I'm in this mode, I think. Let me see. It's like a little security thing. Okay, let's get through that. All right, can you guys see that screen?
Yes.
All right, perfect. So I'm not a PowerPoint person. I like was making this over this past few periods a week or so. And so, yeah, it's gonna be a little fun to get through this, but a little bit about me. I'm gonna fly through it and then we'll get into some of the meat and stuff. But born in Central Florida, Ocala. I grew up in Naples, Florida. I loved to fish as a kid and tried to actually fish the bass circuit, which is really fun. Still love fishing today, big time. I'm gonna jump through a little bit of my life to get into the business stage, but I played soccer at Flagler College in St. Augustine, Florida. I loved it. I loved St. Augustine with so much of me, and we'll get back to that in a minute. I met my wife at Flagler College as a senior. My first degree is philosophy of religion. That is a true love of mine. I still read the Descartes and Spinoza, and accounting I do is kind of a second love. And I didn't know that my accounting professor was going to tell me back when Enron and WorldCom was happening that, you know, we really need ethical accountants in our world. And so that started me in this journey down accounting at Flagler College. I got married. I moved to Annapolis, Maryland, and I joined a really great CPA firm in Annapolis. They are called Heim Lance. They're one of the top 100. I was mentored, phenomenal leaders that have taken me down a lane, particularly government contract. At that time, they were doing some government contract work. And then I got into some really fun tax work and audit. And Carter Heim is the owner. And he sits on one of the SEC board member positions and just really connected up there. So I had a really great time with that process being there at Heim Lance. Sure enough, we found out Mary was pregnant, and it was our dream to go to Italy, and we did the best thing we could do when we were young and 22 and just pulled out the credit cards and went to Italy and had a blast while she was actually 6 months pregnant in that little picture there, which is wild and stupid. And I know I'm an accountant, but I did it. And it was one of the best trips, and probably because we were just swiping the card and having a blast. And it was really fun when we were young like that. Wouldn't do that now. Of course, then we come along. This is my daughter. This is Mia. There's some pictures when she was young. It was so fun to me putting this together. I haven't done something like this, guys, in a long time, to kind of say, like, just accumulate stuff about your own family and stuff. It's actually was a really great process to do, just communicate. But this is my amazing daughter. She's in 9th grade. She's about to come home any minute here, and she might come in the door. But this is now, and we had a son, Jacob. Jacob is actually sitting on the couch over there with some headphones on. He's a soccer player, and we have a great time. I'm taking him to soccer practice after this. I eventually moved back to St. Augustine. St. Augustine is by far a place that I found as home when I was here in college. I was connected to a lot of different people here. A lot of people mentored me here, and my wife as well. And we wanted to come back. We moved back here in 2013, and I continued the practice. I'll fill that in later, how the practice kind of continued through that process. This is really funny. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of Good Accountants. It's an advertising agency. But when I first started, they got a hold of me and they made a video of me on YouTube advertising their business. This is actually a video. If you were to Google me on YouTube, you could find this. And it was like this marketing thing back when YouTube was like the newest thing. And so I paid them. They made this video of me. It's super cheesy. But I learned a good lesson in that, and that video is their video, and they have rights to it, and I cannot take it down. They will not take it down. I learned that when you do that kind of stuff with a marketing agency, you got to make sure that you have title to some of that video. But it's a video that they have marketed and they've gotten work off of, which is interesting. We can come back to that later in a moment. But a little bit about Scine Associates. It started in 2009. Merged my brother, Scine CPAs. He's a tax guy. I'm an accountant, controller, CFO. We ended up kind of going two different lanes. From a strategic business standpoint, we still do a lot of work together. You can imagine if you are a controller or an outsourced CFO, getting into the business was hard because the tax guy would always say no, because obviously they don't want me taking the tax work if I'm a CPA firm, and vice versa. So by splitting and actually having a separate company called Scine Associates, which is what I run, my brother runs kind of a tax shop, and we can both enter into firms individually and then recommend each other, which is a little fun there. And then we started getting our act together. This was back in probably 2013 when I moved here. Obviously, I've got kids, I've got staff. It started getting bigger, and we came out with kind of 3 different lanes. We have CFO services, what we produce. We do a lot of, I really don't do any tax work at all inside of me and my staff. We have got a GovCon division, which we're doing incurred cost submissions, rate structures for cost plus contracts, federal and state side of things. And then we got a corp track team, which is essentially, we do a lot of state filings, all the little tiny things, state registration stuff, nexus studies, some pieces like that that we're into. Those are kind of our 3 divisions, if you will, of senior associates as a whole. These are some of my amazing staff. I love these folks. These are folks that have just given me so much of their life and time. And so I'm super, super thankful for them. And then there's me, there's a little bit about me. And I am here in St. Augustine running this, and I get to talk a little bit more about the business. So let me stop share there for a moment.
Hey, thank you for that. That was really good.
Yeah, sure. I don't know. Somehow I gotta stop share here. Give me 1 second. Okay, I think it's on my screen over here. 1 sec. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, so that's a little bit about me. I am in St. Augustine, Florida. My staff are up and down the East Coast. Most of them are actually in St. Augustine. We do have a little bit of a niche where we do a level of renewable energy activity. I wanted to get in that. I used a marketer to help me that. I can tell you a little bit about that. And I basically am doing a level of 100% outsourced accounting, which leads into a level of controllership, which then gets a smaller level of CFO work. Right, I'm primarily the person doing the CFO work. I got tired of bookkeepers. I'm being as clear as I possibly can. I tell people all the time, if you have a bookkeeper that's been there, 10 hours, 20 hours a week, and they're really good, get ready, they're going to get taken, because I will take them. I am looking for really great bookkeepers, and I will give them an offer that will pull them, and I will leverage them and use them and care for them and foster them. But I am ready, because if you're a good bookkeeper, they're going to get taken quick. So usually what our businesses are left with are bookkeepers that are okay. And they exhaust you as a CFO when you're coming into it, looking at books that aren't ready, and you got negative numbers all over your balance sheet other than accumulated depreciation, and you're exhausted and it's so basic and you're just driving yourself crazy. So I decided to just be done with that and bring that in-house. Half of my staff, we have 10 full-time staff, 4 interns. I teach at the college, and so I pull in some of those accounting staff onto my team. And we do the accounting as a base for a lot of those clients, and then a level of controllership and a level of CFO work. That's my dog's tail coming around. He always gets excited when I'm on Zoom calls. I don't know why, but we're if you guys know St. Augustine at all, we're in the Leitner building. If you happen never been to St. Augustine, it's a beautiful city. I love it. And we're on like a little piazza square in the center. It's like weird to think about Florida having a piazza or a square, because it's just so like Disney World, and St. Augustine's not like that if you've ever been there. And our clients are up and down and all over the country. And so we have that whole gamut of things in that lane. And that is what we do. Our financial statements, to kind of boil down the nuts and bolts of the process, we call it real-time accounting. We use a software stack called Bill.com, Expensify, QuickBooks Online, QuickBooks Desktop. Right, we're going to use Giraffe, which is the latest CPA.com product, which for our projections and forward looking. We tell people all the time, there's a service we can do. We can look in the rearview mirror with you if you want to do financial statements, or we can look through the windshield with you. Both are 2 separate engagements, 2 separate bills, and they're very clearly distinct and different, right? And so we do all of that kind of core work in the first 30 days of the month, and then really, we call it week 5, week 6, week 7, where we're producing and closing up the historical stuff and doing projections and looking forward with Giraffe. That's actually how I met Jeffrey, and some of his software that he's got going on. We're kind of entertaining using some of that as well. So that's like the 30,000 foot view. And I don't know exactly how much time I have here, Jeffrey, but I flew through it all. Hopefully that's good. Hopefully that works. Let me know.
Yeah. No, that's good. So do you have a quick, say, a few minute story about a client that either was really cool or was a problem, something you learned? Whoa, did we lose him? Oh. We're not gonna know. All right, so we're gonna assume he's gonna come back on in a minute, but while we're waiting. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what we're gonna do next month. Because I put a little teaser on the document. Did you see that with the letter that came around? Wait, you're not gonna want to miss next month? Maybe not. All right. Do you guys get my monthly did everybody get my monthly mailing? Okay, where did it go? Because I know I mailed it to everybody on here. It comes through, well, that stinks.
Hey, Jeff, I'm not saying I didn't get it. It's probably in my inbox, so don't.
Well, so I
don't
sent
there.
it out like Monday I sent it.
Hmm.
And somebody told me that it was in their spam.
Yeah, Jeff, a couple of the emails you sent to me came to my spam box, so
Yeah.
everybody, what I do is I cheat and I do a search for Peterson.
There you go. Yeah, you're always looking for me. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, what we're gonna do next month is I've got a friend who's a marketing person. And we all talk about brand, and actually we're gonna do that for like the next 3 or 4 months, a little piece of it every time. So we're gonna talk about branding, but it's not the kind of branding that you think about, like it's not, hey, I do manufacturing CFO work, or hey, I do that's not business branding. It's going to be about you. So I worked with, this is a friend of mine. She's in marketing. And, when I started doing there he goes. When I started doing the forecaster business and with the software, and I started to go into my new business model, I finally had to think about, why do people really hire me? I never, I took it for granted. I didn't take it for granted. I just knew that if I got in front of somebody, I could sell myself. It's kind of like what Don was saying. In 30 minutes, he could sell somebody. And so I really wanted to know, why was that, and how do I leverage that? So like, everybody here on this phone call is different, but everybody here gets clients. And so what we're going to try and explore, and this was hard for me to do, and I did it with her over the course of about 3 or 4 months. But I finally learned about what I really was, and why people would hire me and bring me on, and what they saw. I've had all these clients over the years, and it's kind of like what Don and I were talking about earlier. Nobody has ever checked my references. So I didn't want to push it. I didn't want to ask the question, because I didn't want anybody to ever check my references, even though they were good, but I didn't want to go through that hassle. But now I know a lot more about it. I know what I am. I know what I present. It helps me do this meeting, because it helps me be more me than, and know what I really am. And so I want to go through that exercise with everybody here, because it's really interesting. It's like, you just heard about Dominick. Now, we all know now that the old, like, I've got the thing, know, like, and trust. We know Dominick now. And so all of a sudden, he's going to get invited in a different way. We all know Donald. And so, the more you can get out there to people what you really are, the more you can promote yourself. What it is you're trying to do, what it is you're selling, why people gravitate to you. And so I can't even explain it. Like, you're over here and I went through the gauntlet and I'm over here now, and I want to be able to share that with you guys, because it's a fun journey. And when you get to the other side, it's a lot clearer. as to what everything is and what you really are all about and what you're doing. So it's, you know, it's not branding in the marketing fashion where, you know, let's get a good logo, let's, get a good name of our company or anything like that. It's more going to be about who you are. So there's, there's a couple of things that we're going to ask you guys to participate in, which is, there's a book out there called Strengths-Based Leadership. And you read that and you take a little quiz. And so one of the times, we'll ask you to do that. You send me the results and we'll show how everybody compares to everybody else. You'll see that the profile of this group is probably going to be pretty tight because, we kind of naturally select what we'd like to do. But if you're doing it with marketing people and engineering people and financial people and sales people, it's kind of fun to see how your profile mix changes dramatically within those groups. So we're going to do that. And then there's this thing called archetype, which this was the one that really was the most difficult for me. You have to learn, you learn what you are and what you're all about. So, she kind of guesses a little bit based on what you are. So she gave me this range and I would read what the archetype was. And I said, nah, that's not me. That's not me. And then there was one that she gave me that I couldn't disagree with any word in it. And I'm like, okay, it's kind of like with the glasses, when I don't know if you all wear glasses where the guy goes, all right, is this better? Is this better? Try this one. Is this better? That's what it felt like. And finally we zeroed in on what I was. And so it turns out, and this may not be any surprise to anybody on the outside, but it was a little bit to me, my archetype is a mentor. And so like, if you were to read the archetype of a mentor, it's me. Like I said, there's nothing in there that I would disagree with. And it doesn't mean anything is good or bad. It just means who you are. And then it's allowed me to leverage that. And actually that's why this meeting exists, believe it or not. Is because I went through that and learned that piece. So anyway, I'm going to have to get into another meeting in 2 minutes. So I'm a little disappointed that you guys don't get my letter. So Anna, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send you.
I got it, Jeff.
All right, Jim got it.
I missed your little hint in there.
Oh, okay. All right. Somebody got it. That's good. So I use Active Campaign, so it should work. But anyway, so we're gonna have that's what we're gonna do at the next meeting. Plus, I'm gonna have somebody here for on cash flow. I've been working with a company called Dry Run on cash flow forecasting, 13-week cash flow forecasting, and so I'm gonna let her talk a little bit, but I want to mix it up a little bit about what everybody does about cash flow forecasting. And so again, it's the opportunity to trade ideas. So it's going to be one of those kind of things. So on one, it's going to be all about you. And the other one, it's going to be all about sharing, what you have with other people at the meeting. So that Shelley doesn't go join another group other than this one. So we want to keep her here. Even though Don was trying to promote her to go somewhere else, but we want to keep her here.
No, I'm promoting everyone to join every group in FANG. How about that?
There you go. Yeah. Yep. All right. So anyway, so that's all I have. It was nice to see all of you again.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Thank you, Jeff.
Keep coming back.
Thanks, Jeff.
Keep coming
Thank
back.
you, Jeff,
It
and
gets
Donald.
better, right?
And Dominic.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
All right, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, bye.